Hello and welcome back to the channel, fellow farmers. Farmer Murphy here. We are here on Haut-Beyleron for our first in this Let's Play series. I decided on this map solely because I wanted to grapes and olives, and it just seemed more appropriate. Um, Now, full disclosure, you'll notice the money is down from 100,000. I started on New Farmer. I did go and add wider tires to the tractors that were placed on the map. I just think those older tractors look really cool with wide tires. So I brought the money, had to cheat some money in and bring it back down. But that's the only change I made. Uh, and in the interest of full disclosure, I have to admit this is the second first episode. I went through the entire first episode and realized that my mic was turned off and there was no audio whatsoever. So it's too bad you guys missed that because it was awesome. Anyways, hope we have better luck this time. But let's just take a quick look before we get started at the settings that I've picked for this Let's Play. If we go down here to our settings menu, um, I've got the time scale up to 3. I did start on New Farmer, but I put the economy back to normal. I like to start on New Farmer in most of my games just to take advantage of the buildings the map maker has added to the map. Sometimes I get rid of the equipment and select my own, but this time I decided we just run with what we were given. I have traffic on. This is the important one I wanted to get to. Seasonal growth is on. I've got selected 4 days per month, so each day represents a week. And I've turned all the other features of FS22 on so we can take a look at those. Uh, this is kind of new territory, so we'll see how that goes. We may need to adjust that as we go along in case things drag out a bit. So, for the second time, let's go take a look at our fields. And no surprise, what we have here is a harvested field. Um, it's got stubble in it, and just like before, needs lime and plowing, so it's not in very good shape. And if we head over here, we can see again another field. It looks like it's cultivated this time, and it needs lime and plowing as well. And then we have a field of wheat over here, and it is ready to harvest. No fertilizer states, and again, it needs liming and plowing, so we're not going to get a very good harvest off of that. But our harvester is sitting here, so let's jump in that, get it started up, and we'll get this harvest off the field. Now in FS19, I always found it best to make an outline of the field if you're going to use a worker. Otherwise, you could find your worker at some one corner of the map or another. They could sometimes take off on you. Now, I haven't really tested that here on FS22, but I know from having done this field just a little while ago, this doesn't take very long. So I'll keep you on board, and we'll outline this field, and we'll set a worker off on this. As I've mentioned in some of my previous videos, I'm located in Western Canada, and out in the prairies, right in the middle of farming country, and I have seen some Deutz-Fahr tractors around, albeit when I think back on it, most of the ones I've seen are like the older vintage, like the Deutz Alice. There's a number of those around out here, but I don't think in real life I've ever seen a Deutz-Fahr harvester out here on the prairies. Can't say that I was honestly looking for it, but I will kind of keep my eye out going forward, but seems to be doing a good job here on FS22. I've left straw swaths on. We don't have any animals or anything currently, but we'll go and pick that up. We might as well sell that and get as much as we can from this harvest. Okay, I think we're safe now to set a worker off, and he should stay on our farm, hopefully. So we'll do that. We'll get him working on that, and we'll move on to the next task at hand. And there he goes. Now we'll jump out here and hopefully not get run over. Ah, seemed to work. All right, so we've got some fields that are going to need plowing. Actually, all three of our fields are going to need plowing. So I think what we'll do is we'll jump in one of our tractors here and we'll run down to the store and we'll pick us up a plow and a mulcher, because this field here we could mulch and that'll give us a 5% bonus. And once we get the straw off that field the worker's working on, we can mulch that one as well. So our tractors are here under the shed. So we'll rip over here and grab one. Now, I've got it on automatic right now. You can still see the gear shift moving. That's pretty neat, and you can hear the gear sounds. I tried playing when the very first attempt at the Let's Play here on standard. As I mentioned before, I'm used to playing with the side panel. I almost exclusively played with it on FS19, and so I'm just kind of getting used to the, being forced to use the controller, and it was just a little awkward. So we'll stick with automatic for now until I get more comfortable with the controller. I thought I'd keep you along for the short trip to the shop here, just so we can have kind of a look of a bit of the countryside. Uh, it's not a very long run down here. And truth be known, we could actually cut across that field to our left. If we cut straight across there around the edge, we could get to our farm. But haven't talked to the neighbor about doing that. So we'll stick to the road. Okay, here we are at the shop. Let's first check out the used equipment. Oh, wow, only 5,600. What is that? That is a 3-meter planter. Boy, I have to admit, that's pretty tempting. We're not going to need a planter for a little while. All those crops we need to plant in the spring, I believe. But you know what? That is too good a deal, I think, to pass up. I think we'll take that for future use. But oops, sorry about that, guys. Didn't mean to jump out of there. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to jump out. Let's take a look at what we've got here for options for plowing. Now, we could go with a conventional plow, but the largest we could go with would be a 2.5-meter for the horsepower we have. But if we go back and look at subsoilers, if we scroll across, we can see with our horsepower that we have available, we could actually go with a 4-meter subsoiler. So I think that's what we'll do. At this time, I think we'll actually lease that, because once we do these fields, we won't have a use for it for another year. I don't do a lot of like plowing type contracts as a rule. I do admit to having a bit of a contract obsession, but I think just to keep our funds up, because there is something I do want to buy that's rather pricey here. We'll just lease this for the time being. And I think we'll leave it at that for now. We'll see how far we get in the day. Um, no sense paying a leasing fee overnight um, if we don't have to. I don't know if we'll get to the mulching, so we'll just leave that. We can always come back for it. So I'll leave you there for the time being. I'll get this back to the farm and we'll get set up and we will start our plowing. Just arrived back at the farm and I got a message that the worker's tank was just about full. So I've hooked on to our cart here, and while the pipe is on the right side of the field, I thought we'd go and take care of that and empty him out so he can keep going. This is one of those things that's easier to do from outside the cab. There we go. Now I think what we'll end up doing with this is just putting it in our silo here. We'll take a look at the prices here in just a second, but I'm pretty sure with seasonal cycles on that this is not the time of year we want to be selling our wheat nor our straw. But just before we dump it, we'll take a look and confirm that. If we were desperate for money, we might be tempted to sell it, but we're not at that point right now. Here's our silo. So just before we commit, let's take a look at our prices here. And it's wheat, and you can see if we hit the square, we can look at the historic. Yeah, and in fact, excuse me, August is the absolute worst time to sell it. So we're going to dump that. We might as well go down here and look at straw while we're in here, but I imagine it's going to be pretty much the same thing. Yep, absolutely the worst time to sell it too. So we're not going to try and hang on till the January, December time frame. So we'll dump this off. I guess there's no reason we need to be standing out here. We can jump in the cab. It's pretty neat, the sounds that they've added now in FS22 for the things like trailer dumping and even the equipment when you use it. So we'll just bring our tractor over here, because we'll have to offload the last of the wheat when our worker is done. But there's been a slight change in plans. I think what we're going to do is we'll jump in our other tractor here, our Valmet, and we will head down to the store again, because I think we're going to invest in another piece of equipment. This is the pricey one I was talking about, but I'll leave you here for now. When I get to the store, I'll catch up with you and tell you what we're up to. Okay, we're back at the store, and this is what I'm talking about. I think we're going to buy this. A couple reasons behind this. It's actually the smallest unit that will spread both fertilizer and lime, and our fields need both of that. Also, I do have a bit of a contract addiction, I have to admit, and I find fertilizer contracts are pretty profitable. And so I think that's how we'll shore up our counts when we're not busy on our own farm. So I think I'd rather purchase this than lease it, and that's going to take a fair chunk of our revenue. So, but I am going to go ahead and do that and grab some fertilizer, and I think we'll put a fertilizer on our field before we subsoil it. We're back at the farm with our fertilizer spreader. I added 3 big bags of fertilizer to it. I think that should do our fields. I suspect anyways, or we'll find out. Um, just before we get going on the fertilizing, you'll notice our worker is stopped over there in the distance, so we need to go and pick up the rest of that harvest and put it in our silo. But I thought we'd just take a quick look at contracts and discuss that here briefly. And you can see there's a fertilizing contract there that is available, and we do have the equipment for that, so we're definitely going to grab that. There's a couple other contracts here I find interesting. There's this harvest contract, but then there's a couple lucrative spraying contracts. But as a general rule, my plan going forward is I'll probably do the contracts off camera, use workers a lot to do that, and I will just bring you in if there's something interesting. Now, that may change when we don't have any work on our farm. Um, we may spend more time doing contracts, but kind of as a general rule, that's going to be my plan going forward. But with these 2 spraying contracts, I'm going to look at the equipment leasing cost. You can see is like 3,600 for that one and 9,000 for that one. I may be able to just go with lease a sprayer and maybe knock a few of these spraying contracts off with that lease piece of equipment. Might be a more economical way to do it. But for now, we've grabbed that fertilizing one. We'll get on here with our own fertilizing. Um, and that is a job, another one of those jobs I do outside of camera. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go straight across both these fields. I know it's going to waste a little bit of fertilizer there on that little patch, but probably a more efficient way of doing it. This is a pretty good sized unit, so this won't take very long. But we do need to get 2 fertilizer applications on the field to get maximum yield, so I thought we might as well do one before we do the subsoiling. I am going to try and keep these episodes, my plan is down to about a half an hour. I think that's a pretty good length. If I get comments or suggestions that they'd rather see something different, we can look at that. Whoops, busy talking and not paying attention and ran over the neighbor's field. Shouldn't really be doing that. It looks like it's just a cultivated field, so hopefully he won't be too upset. What we'll do here is we'll do a strip down this way, just so we give ourselves some room. And I'll try and... Apparently just isn't texting and driving is an issue. Texting and talking is as well. Sneak out here on the road a little bit. I do like, well, not even the older tractors, even the newer tractors, I do like the wide tires. Thought I'd just keep you on board because this is not going to take very long. Yep, certainly appears we're going to have more than enough fertilizer. We'll probably be able to do that fertilizer contract too with the fertilizer we purchased. I suppose I really should have been turning it off across that strip. I don't think it cost us too much fertilizer. Oh, dog fight. Sorry about that. We have a couple dogs. Oh, misjudged that one a little bit. Every once in a while they get in a scrap with each other. Apparently wasn't driving in all that straight a line from the looks of things. Alright, that just about does that. There's a couple places I need to touch up, but I'll do that off camera. We'll move off and get our harvest collected. We're back in our stire, just picking up the last of our harvest. We will put this in our silo, and um, when I get the straw off the field, we'll take a look at the what we got for both straw and wheat total for this harvest. One interesting change if you're an FS19 player, you used to be able to offload your combines with the engine off, but now you need to have the engine running, which actually makes sense. You need that the engine running to power the auger, but it's one of the small changes I've noticed. We'll get the rest of our wheat off here, and once that's done, I'm going to disconnect. I'll leave the trailer here. In the interest of keeping the episodes a half an hour, you're definitely not going to see me trying to back up these swivel axle trailers, putting them away on camera. That has the potential of taking an entire episode sometimes. But I'm going to whiz off to the store, and we'll look at something here to pick up that straw. Well, we're back at the store, and we actually have two options here to get that straw off the field. We could bale it. We don't have any bale handling equipment, but if we picked up this Massey Ferguson baler, we can lift those bales by hand, and we could pack those with our pickup truck. But we really don't have a convenient place to store bales right now. So I think 4H wagon is our better option, and it's a little bit more money, but we have the advantage that we have the hayloft that we can throw our straw in. So I'm going to lease this again. So I'll get that lease picked up, and we'll get that straw off the field. We're back in our stire. Doesn't take a lot of horsepower to run this 4H wagon. We'll get it started up here. This is one of those jobs that you can do pretty easily in cab as long as the 4H wagon you're using has a pretty good pickup. And I know from the last time I did this that actually does have pretty good pickup. I guess one of the advantages to doing something over. Hopefully this time I won't run into the neighbors. I think it was an oak crop down here. I was talking last time and ran into it a little bit. Although I did run into his cultivated field, but that's probably less of a sin than running through his crop. So we're trying to avoid that this time. Steyr tractor is something I've not seen in real life. I've never seen one here on the prairies. Austrian, I think it is, isn't it? If I recall, I looked it up at one point. Get to my age, I don't say I have a bad memory, I just say I have poor recall. Usually when I'm looking for something, trying to remember, can't find it. And then when it's too late and I no longer need it, bang, there it is. Now I remember. Case and John Deere, obviously the biggest tractors we see here in the prairie are the most used. And there's a fair number of New Holland as well, but nowhere near the number of Case and John Deere. I'd say from my straw poll that they're pretty even. And then everything else is just kind of a smattering that's thrown in. Yeah, this old Steyr though is not having any issue with this loading wagon at all. Pretty neat tractor. Kind of reminds me when I was a kid, did a stint on our family did a stint at a dairy farm down in New Brunswick, and they had an old David Brown. Well, it wasn't old at the time, but it'd be old by today's standards now. But it kind of reminds me of that David Brown a little bit. Probably because I was only like I was 6 years old when we moved down there, and we left when I was 12. And the biggest thing I remember about that David Brown was that it was white. So it's probably where that comes from. Well, I guess it helps if you put the pickup down. Trucking along, burning up fuel and accomplishing nothing. Welcome to farming with Farmer Murphy. We'll just say we had a sticky button. We'll go with that. All right, we got a full load. We'll go and throw this in our hayloft. Now, if you would rather see more, oh, there's the dog going off again. If you'd rather see more out of cab, would help if you put it in the inside instead of trying to put it in the out. But if you'd rather see more out of cab driving than in cab, just let me know in the comments. Like I said, I prefer myself to do as much in cab as I like, or as I can, I should say. But if you'd rather see more out of cab and see the equipment working that way, just let me know. But I'll leave you there for just a minute. Seeing what's happening here, I will get the rest of this straw off and catch up with you when that is done. Welcome back. So I've been busy while you're away. I got the straw off of this field and loaded into our hayloft. I kind of organized the yard here, got everything put away. You'll notice our trailer is sitting there. Was having some difficulties getting it backed up, so I said, to heck with it, you're going to live there. But that's the kind of thing you probably want to keep under cover normally because of the tarp. I brought our seeder back, or sorry, I should say our planter. I didn't do any of the repair to it. We are not going to need that probably till next year unless we pick up a contract. So I thought, well, we'll just save that money and we'll repair it when we need it. Hopefully, we don't end up with buyer's remorse on that. And I also leased us a roller. So let's take a look at that. I'll show you which one I decided on, or a mulcher, I should say. I was originally going to go with this TMS2, but I ended up going with the Speed Max. It is twice the money, but if you'll notice, it's almost twice as wide, and it's also quite a bit quicker. So I thought it was worth it. It cost an extra 500 bucks. I thought it was worth it. So that's what we have set up on our Veltro over here. So we'll do the same thing we did with the uh, harvester. We'll get set up. We'll do the initial laps around, and then we'll set a worker off to finish this. Now I know we haven't actually used our Massey. He's been sitting over there since the very first tractor we jumped in, and we actually haven't done anything. Oh, we can see our texture there. The mulching texture, actually it's pretty obvious when you've got fertilizer on the stubble, but if you don't, it actually is a little tough to see. So that's another advantage to doing the fertilizer first. But not to worry, as I was saying, our Massey friend is going to be up next. Right after we get a worker doing this. I'll have to try hiring a worker without doing the outside course around the field and see what happens, but today is not the day for that. I was thinking when I was picking up that planter about another test I'm going to do. I actually probably start it right after I get done this recording this Let's Play, is because I was wondering if we'd end up with buyer's remorse on that. I'm going to go on my test map and, didn't do a very good job there, watch for a used tractor, and I'm going to buy it, repair it to its maximum level, and I'm going to buy exactly the same tractor new, and I'm going to use it until they both have the same hours on it. For example, let's say I buy it and it's got 15 hours on the used tractor. I'll run both a new and used tractor, say, to about 30 hours and compare the cost of operating, and we'll see if it's a good deal or if you're getting snookered. I was just kind of curious about that. Oh, I did one extra lap here, really wasn't necessary, but that's all right. That doesn't hurt anything. Now, like I said, I'm trying to keep these episodes to about a half hour, so I'm just showing you a lot of times just getting started on the tasks, and like off camera I fertilized that other field because we had already fertilized these two. But if I am glossing over something you'd really like to see, or you want to see more of me doing the operation rather than a worker, just let me know in the comments and I'll try and make that happen. So we'll get a worker started off on here. We'll jump out, let him get on his way, and it's finally time for the Massey. It was the tractor I went to first, and it actually ends up being the one I use last. There is something I want to show you that I learned on my previous recording that I will share with you before we sign off. So this is the same subsoiler I had, and I did exactly the same process, and which we'll do here because we haven't seen any subsoiling. See those rocks? Man, they are massive, and I can tell you when we get this field done, it's just absolutely going to be littered with those. I'm wondering if there isn't a mask they set or something like that, like they did with soil types in precision farming, because when I did my rock test on Elm Creek, I used the spader, which is, from my understanding, supposed to give you the largest rocks. It did not give me rocks like size and quantity like I got off this field the last time I did this. So not all fields, or maybe it's a map issue, I'm not sure, are created the same, because when we get done this thing, you'll see, I'll show you when we get done. It is absolutely littered with friggin' boulders. There's definitely going to be a rock picker in our future. So I'm just doing the same thing here, just doing an outline of the field so we can contain our worker. Oh, going up hill here a little bit. It's working our massey out. Having a hard time deciding what gear to go with. Look at those rocks. Unbelievable. We're certainly not going to be bouncing our cedar over those. All right, so just like I've done previously with the harvester and the mulcher, mulcher, I got that right the first time. We see you running over there. Now we come, and we're going to set a worker off. And you see that? Field not found. And I found that too when I did my rock test on Elm Creek when I was using a spader. And I thought it was just maybe an issue with the map or the spader itself. But now, if we do the same thing over here, we'll just run over onto this field. And we'll just try and start a worker off here. Away he goes. And I figured out that it was because that field was cultivated. So a worker won't plow or subsoil. Well, we'll say subsoil because I didn't try with a plow, but it won't subsoil over a cultivated field. And that may be because it's going to leave a cultivated look, same as what was there. But that was the issue. So that field I'm going to have to do by hand. This is in. We'll just let this run to the end of the field and see what he does here. If he turns around and heads back the right way, because I didn't do a outline. Let's see what happens with him here. Oh, no, it looks like he's going to turn around and go the right direction. Maybe we won't need to do that lap around anymore. Anyways, I think we'll leave it there. I'm sure that's going to be a half hour or more. And I will likely off camera, I'll get the mulching done, and I will get all these fields plowed or subsoiled, and we'll start our next episode there with seeding. So if you stuck with it to this point, I really appreciate it. I hope you found it entertaining. Maybe got some useful information out of it. And until next time, I'll leave you there. Farmer Murphy signing out.